human beings. So this is your 4th tutorial for Fry, and what we are looking at is just 3 options if none of the previous stuff worked for you and you're frustrated. Or if the previous stuff worked for you and you're like, I'm getting somewhere, try out these 3 things as well, just to see if it improves either the sound or the feeling that you got going during your fry. First thing to try out is going high up. Going high up, reducing the breath. So you're in your falsetto, you're using less and less air, but you make sure that you maintain the same volume. Do not decrease the volume. So if you are at you try not to go, if this is my volume, don't do that. Keep the volume the same. Volume the same, very different breath pressure. Play around with that, because sometimes what people do is they sing a falsetto note, then they start decreasing the volume when they're high up, and that's not you using less air necessarily or less pressure. That is very often you keeping the breath pressure consistent, but letting the vocal folds get lighter and lighter. And that's not what we want. We want the vocal folds making really good contact and the breath pressure being minimized so that you end up flipping registers into fry. Yay! Second thing to try out is lower down in your range, especially in your chest voice. Start breathy. So if you were going start that a little bit breathy. And go into fry and see if you're in fry like that, if that feels different to your non-breathy one. And then also test and go non-breathy fry, siren up, or attempt to siren up. That would be etc. Or breathy into fry, siren up. Etc. One might be easier than the other. Find out which one you prefer and which one you like more and which one gets you higher up in your range, and start consciously working on that. If you like the non-breathy one, chances are that you need that vocal fold proximity. If you like the breathier one, chances are that you were squeezing too much into your fry, and you don't need that much squeeze and that much vocal fold proximity. So figure out which one you prefer. Maybe divide the exercise into 2 portions. So you do clean to fry, and then you breathe again, and then you come back to that fry and you try sirening up. Leave gaps. You're allowed to leave breathing gaps. It isn't about you doing everything in one never-ending breath chunk. Not necessarily good technique. So breathe whenever you need to. Always breathe whenever you need to. Just don't tank up with loads of air for fry. If you're doing the breathy into fry, it might take a lot longer for you to get into your vocal fry from a breathy tone. Let it take as long as it needs to take. Generally, let things take as long as they need to take. It's okay. No one's chasing you, and all distortion exercises, especially earlier ones, like when you're not used to doing an entire gig like this, or you haven't done albums like this and long recording sessions. So before that stage, it's very meditative, it's very slow, it's very reflective, and that's a good thing. You want to keep it like that. You want it to be slow and reflective. You don't want to just explosively all over the place, because then chaos and repeatability is usually very low. The last thing, fortunately or unfortunately, is imagery and various scenarios. I'm not a huge fan of scenarios, but they work really, really well for some people. They're very, very effective and efficient. So try things out. Whether that means you're in your falsetto and you're thinking things like, oh, I want to sound like bacon frying. So I'm going to go, ah, whatever. Yeah, go with that. You could think of things like, I want to sound like a witch. I want to sound like a creaky door. I want to sound like a swing from a horror video game. Just anything that comes to mind. I want to sound like Owen Wilson when he goes, wow, that kind of stuff. So just use weird scenarios and imagery and see if it makes your life easier. If the images that you're using get you into fry, but you drop in pitch, make a micro adjustment to your scenario and your image. And if you're thinking things like, oh, I'm going to be bacon frying, or I'm going to be a pterodactyl, or I'm going to be a door or a swing or whatever, the first one that you do, where you go, ah, and you're like, oh, I dropped. When you do that, instead of the, I dropped, bash, 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 self-punishment, just go, okay, that's that door. What if the door that I do is smaller sized? So you only get a small drop. Play around with stuff like that. So just scale the image, because maybe you were thinking too big, and big tends to go down in pitch in most people's minds, not everyone, but hey. Those are just 3 alternatives and 3 ideas for you to play around with a little bit and test out. In the previous tutorials, so in the beginner tutorials, I did 4 tutorials, and then the 5th one was a summary of the 4 tutorials and some extra additional information. Let me know if you would be interested in my doing that for the intermediate ones, or if it's just, tutorials, stuff. And if you'd want additional information, maybe let me know what that information would be, and what kind of stuff you'd be interested in knowing. The advanced tutorials are going to be largely looking at different ways that you can increase volume on your fry. So if that's what you were wondering about, it's coming up, but I need you to be pitching. And I need you to get into your falsetto range, because what are you going to do? Just add volume to your chest voice? Nah. So it's not going to be much of a scream. Just let me know if you are interested in a summary video with some additional information and tips and stuff like that, and what kind of information you might want that to include. And if yay, I will make that. If nay, I won't. Haha, life is good. Any questions, write them below. I'll get back to you. And as always, be patient with yourselves and have fun. Bye.